After Indiana Jones helped the Germans find the Ark and unknowingly reduced the Third Reich, the British government awarded him a bonus in the form of a sausage stick, which is why the very next day the great archaeologist takes a column chick from a Chinese mobster to find an ancient bulbalizer for smoking Asian hashish. Is it true that you found sniffers? And when Jones met with a mafia man behind the scenes to sell a bulbalizer, and everything didn't go according to plan. Last night, one of your guys tried to take a sniffer without paying for it. He comes to the mafia's restaurant to sell the bulbalizer again, when the banana peel would have figured out what would come of it. It's a trap. But Jones, apparently, lives by the principle of the Star-Lord, and still came to find an adventure on his ass. This is not a trap, this is a showdown. Plus, Jones foresaw that when the situation escalated, there would be a personal mafia couch nearby, which he could easily use as leverage. Although it was necessary to take the money, and then tell me under which tree the bulbulator was buried. Money. Go ahead. Money in the morning, chairs in the afternoon. And only after receiving the payment, Jones immediately gives up the bulbulator when he is held at gunpoint. He also couldn't resist the free booze, apparently not knowing what it was fraught with to drink and eat from the enemy's table. The antidote to the poison you just drank. And Jones would have died for 50 grams of martini if the mafia boss, as a slave to the screenwriter, had not shown him the real antidote for some reason. When all you had to do was wait for Jones to stick out. And as soon as the arrow entered the active phase, Jones earns a point on the very first corpse. Caucasian John Wick kill a man with a barbecue. After that, the casting begins for admission to Ward number 6. Jones managed to save the antidote. The Mafia is checking to see if Jones can be used as a battering ram for the gates of Helm's Fall. And Willie wanted to steal a diamond and exchange it for an annual subscription to the spa. But as soon as he got lost in the ice, she changed her mind about looking for him and took away the bags, which had no value for her antidote. Jones notices this, of course, and, grabbing Willie by the shoulder, catapults Aladdin's method directly to his partner in the car, who is an 11-year-old kid. Yes, we used to say that the films were more adequate and there was less insanity. Yeah, so what? Who wrote the script there? Oh, George Lucas. This is the guy whose gummy bears are taking out the best army in the galaxy. It's clear. By the way, this kid will play one of the main roles in the movie Everything Everywhere at Once in 37 years. According to many film critics, the best film about the multiverse. And I couldn't finish watching it because I didn't understand a damn thing. What the fuck should I take? From a dumb Marvel wanker. And the little one named Shorty turns out to be Khan's dad from Fast and Furious. At the age of 11, he drives a car, as if he was born in Solarica's auto repair shop. Well, Jones gets a second achievement, a contactless van shot. After all, as soon as the machine gunner is shot, the driver also automatically dies. And when they reach the airfield, Jones is fucking dragging a left-handed woman with him, and she doesn't mind flying off, not knowing where, with a dick unknown to her. And they said the characters used to be better prescribed. Sure. Apparently, when Willie saw Jones's plane, she decided that he was an oligarch, a typical seagull. But the plane, it turns out, belongs to the Mafia. And he asks his pilots to kill Jones so that he will be awarded the prize for the most difficult and expensive murder. Drain the fuel, jump out of the plane. Leave the rest to gravity. After all, it's probably too easy to just shoot everyone while they're sleeping and save an expensive plane for a mafia boss. The mafioso did not know that for Jones to survive in a falling plane was like plopping down on a sofa. And when Jones doesn't have parachutes at hand, they are quite successfully replaced by an inflatable boat, with a magic bottom that dampens the force of the impact, and all 3 passengers didn't even hit their coccyx. Jones then makes a hydro scooter out of a boat and easily maneuvers in the strong current of the river and comes straight to India. Respect for that. But since Indiana has a GLONASS system built into his head, he presses the SOS button, and local Suzanans instantly appear on the shore, who immediately point the way to the nearest village, where they are fed as if Henry Cavill himself flew to them from Krypton. There's more food here than these people eat in a week. They're starving. And as it turned out, the hack wasn't free. And Jones is given a quest assignment. A sect of the best moonshine brewers was registered here next door to the tribe in the palace. after one sip of which a person gets such a squirrel that he loses his memory and becomes a member of a cult. And the cult began to create its own army to take over the world. The British in India will be exterminated. Soon Kalaman will rule the world. And the head of the Malaram sect decided to take over the world with the help of earthly infinity stones, which can only act as night lamps. One of whom stole in the village. Jones gets down to business and calls Yandex long comfort. And if he took Shorty, since here a mixture of Dominic Toretto and Jackie Chan is always useful if a showdown begins, then Willie in this case looks like a ballast that only gets hysterical and whines all the time. Why is there always so much noise from me? Shell-shocked. By God. They're mentally disturbed. Taxi drivers take the trio to the palace. And only Jones began to think about how he could climb up to the owners without soap in the ass. As it turns out, his fan works in a very decent position. I first heard your name when I was studying at Oxford, and for the sake of such a dear guest, a banquet of the highest class is immediately organized, where the variety of delicious food gave Willie a seizure. Chilled monkey brains. Jones, like a naive boy, begins to ask if there are any sectarians in the courtyard who stole a stone from the village. We came from a small village. The peasants told us that the Pankota Palace is becoming powerful again thanks to some ancient evil force. When the villagers said in plain text that the palace was rented by sectarians, Jones seemed to think that since all the people here were decently dressed, they could not be sectarians. And for such wrong questions, a cervical massage specialist comes to Jones on the very first evening to clearly explain that when you are visiting influential people, you need to sit quietly, smile, and agree. Only influential people made the mistake of sending just one massage therapist. And in less than a minute, Jones gets out of suffocation and makes a toy for a Christmas tree out of a reed. Jones immediately runs to check if someone has killed his future sex, which, thank the universe, is in order. Plus, the archaeologist immediately senses a secret corridor in the room, squeezing out paintings and statues, opening a passage that leads to the mines where the stones are stored. Follow in the footsteps of Shiva, and the best gentleman in history goes looking for pebbles, leaving Willie alone in the room. After all, it is unlikely that the sectarians can send more assassins. I also didn't keep a close eye on Shorty after he touches everything. Shorty, first because he doesn't look at his feet, locks both of them in a cave, and then activates an ancient weight loss simulator. And since Jones has not yet drunk celestial breast milk, and cannot squeeze the stone ceiling from his chest, he uses X-ray vision to find the mechanism for turning off the press, and turning down the volume of his voice by 500 dB. He reaches Willie through the stone wall and asks him to fix the Shorty's joint. And Willie does things that 100% of people wouldn't do. He puts his hand into the insect-infested hole to find the press switch. A woman, they say, is a plague. You're not saving her. She's saving you. And as soon as the boys exhaled, Willie activated his abs with his ass. But everyone manages to leave, stumbles upon a concert hall of sectarians, and gets right to the main show of the evening, as Malaran rips out the heart of some poor guy, and as an offering he pays it off in lava. After that, after waiting for the cultists to leave for lunch, Jones uses his whip as a dead hook to descend a pebble and fail. Tess is greedy, snatching all 3 stones instead of 1. And there is no need to run to the nearest pawnshop to take the stones. Jones, as a travel blogger, decided to admire the cave, forgetting where he was. And seeing how a baboon beats children for getting dirty at work, Jones, it's unclear what the point was, stupidly throws a boulder at the baboon, which fires his stealth, and the big guy raises the alarm. And Jones, of course, is taken warm and taken to a local monkey house, where he listens to another reproach from the atomic horseradish. I always tell you, listen to me and you'll live longer. Plus, the cellmate warns that even under threat of death, you should not drink tincture from the standing socks of sectarians, from which you will lose your memory, become an obedient dummy and transfer all your property to the sect. We will live, but as in a nightmare. And Jones didn't have time to think about how to restrain himself from free booze, as the cultists tied him up and took him to the bar to get acquainted. Swallow the slush. And although Jones resisted at first, even Shorty tried to inflict bodily harm on everyone in order to prevent Jones from violating prohibition. But after a motivational P******, and John still drinks tincture, which first causes him to have a wild fit, and then, as a cellmate said, catches a squirrel, under which he becomes a member of a cult and rewrites all his apartments to the sect. Kalima protects us. We are her children. Poor guy. Guys, I should be in his place. You'll get drunk. After that, the cultists promote Jones to the position of a bath attendant so that he can take his girlfriend down to Sauron's steam room. You have to do this. And at the moment when Willie began to descend into the infernal solarium, Shorty, having pumped the damage of his pickaxe to the 100th level, breaks the chains, finds Jones by the smell, and thanks to 5 years of experience in a drug clinic, he conducts coating with fire to drunkard Jones. Jones sobers up in a second, and begins an action to eliminate the sect with a small one. And since the sectarians are scolding the schoolboy, what can we say about the outcome of the fight with Jones? They can't even hit with spears. Like Jones, who swings a spear like a stick, which is why he misses the opportunity to kill the leader. Well, at least he managed to pick up the Infinity Stones and save Willie, who gets a second gyrus after the steam room, and good thoughts begin to come into her head. Let's get out of here. But the sectarians are already specific. Jones couldn't stop the splinters, so he decided to kill everyone and free the slaves. The hour of revolution has come. After all, when the cultists have already fucked him once, you need to try your luck and not fight her again, and not dump and call the cops. And the result is obvious. Attacking from under the silence, Jones wets only one sectarian, and the children's fraternity wets the rest of the guards. And Jones starts raking in just one sectarian. Immediately, the Maharaja himself pulls up with a voodoo doll. And let's pinch Jones' nerves in the spine, because it's too boring to kill him right away. And while the kid was showing Jones what would happen to his joints at 73, the big guy was driving him onto a conveyor belt to make a cutlet out of him. For a fast food chain, the taste of a point. And who knows how many times Jones would have died if it hadn't been for Jackie Chan's nephew, who notices the boy as the assassin rises to him and fills his mouth. Thanks to this, Jones' arthritis subsides, and he sends the bully to stuffing. And Karatishka, already using proven fire therapy, cures Maharaja from delirium tremens. Did you sleep in a black dream, Callie? You're worth $30 for the treatment. And only when the saber bots began to run out, strategic reserves with foreign weapons were brought into battle. But for luck, Jones' partners sold the cultists guns with curved barrels and all the bullets in the milk. Willie understands that bots can spawn indefinitely, and he finds a car to get out of here. And to the sound of bullets flying past, Jones jumps into a wheelbarrow like Tarzan. And the afterburner went on the trolleys. And while Father Khan was driving the wheelbarrow, Jones, using improvised garbage, competently gets rid of the tail. And Malo Ram, having the status of a fucking sorcerer, feels with a chocolate eye that no one can kill Jones. And he comes up with the most amazing liquidation plan. After watching the third Die Hard before that, we'll blow up the dam. What? We're going to drown that son of a bitch. We'll flood them. After all, flooding the mine and losing the entire slave enterprise, when Jones could have been out of the mine for a long time, is more logical for this ugly man than sending armed soldiers to all the exits from the mines. And apparently, the secret of Alzheimer's is in the very tincture that robs people of their brains. The last sectarians caught up with Jones and suddenly decided to steal It's Too Small when they have guns in their car, which they decided to use only when they separated from Jones so that they couldn't get into him from the minigun. And they're so dedicated to their work that they don't even feel sorry for themselves, and they can do tricks at speeds of 200 kilometers. And after the first world record in trolley jumping, the car's brake pads fly off. But Jones doesn't care at all, because his boots are sewn with kaiju leather shoes, and he uses their soles to brake. The water smokes the heroes out into the fresh air, where everyone sticks to the rock like flies on sticky tape and experiences the very Trindits. Willie and Shorty rushed across the bridge, not seeing that the cultists were already waiting on the other side. She also screams from Malorama as if she saw a stranger doing oral sex on Bobby Gi. Maloram, Willie gets a concussion from screaming, and it's unclear why Willie and the kid took him to the bridge when Jones was still alive, and you never know what could happen, and when the indestructible archaeologist could be shot again, the cultists went at him only with cold steel. And since Jones is already tired enough to fight hand-to-hand with the crowd again, he is dismantling the bridge with everyone present. The cultists of the first level become breakfast for crocodiles, and Jones, after playing King of the Mountain with Maloram, remembers Dumbledore's magic lessons ignites the stones, anticipating that Malaram will grab one of the stones, get rid of the burn like a girl and fly to get acquainted with the crocodiles. I couldn't stand some kind of burn. There's a guy with a shot arm who was holding himself and his girlfriend on a beam, and this one, Chiman? What? Chart of Chimishnik. And as soon as amateur reenactors with blunt arrows opened fire on Jones, the Indian army arrives with firearms and closes the sect completely. Well, Jones, who knows his way around, makes arrangements with the soldiers so that he is not detained until he finds out, is not searched, and returns the pebble to the village. And since this time Jones got only injuries instead of gold, he compensates for the wasted time with troubles with Will, but the thrice-married elephant stops the archaeologist from this fatal mistake, because if you start dating a seagull, you can wake up one day not only without possessions but also without kidneys.